Welcome to Phuket. There are islands people visit to swim. There are islands people visit to photograph. And there are islands people visit to listen. On the western edge of Thailand, where the Andaman Sea stretches to the horizon, lies a place called Phuket. A short name. But behind that name unfolds an entire world of ancient Buddhist temples, of century-old merchant houses, of beaches that curve beneath molten gold sunsets, and of hidden coves tucked beneath sheer cliffs. Phuket is the largest island in Thailand, but it has never been only an island. For centuries, this was a stopping point for Indian, Chinese, Portuguese, and Malay traders. Each passing fleet left a trace, a story, a spice, a pastel wall, a religious rite. Layer after layer, those traces built a Phuket unlike anywhere else in the region. Today's journey will take you through 10 of the island's most beautiful places. Some beaches the entire world knows by name. Others, only a handful of locals have ever stepped upon. Some temples shine gold under tropical sun. Some old streets feel as though time has quietly skipped them by. Walk softly, breathe slow, because Phuket, like all deep places, does not rush its story. It waits until you are quiet enough to hear it. The journey begins at Patong, the most famous, the most alive, and perhaps the most misunderstood beach in all of Phuket. By day, Patong is a long ribbon of white sand, nearly 3 kilometers long, curving around a shallow turquoise bay. In the early hours, while visitors still sleep, the locals are already at work. Long-tailed boats casting nets near the shore, food vendors setting up under coconut shade. The water reflects the sky like a mirror freshly cleaned. Patong was once a nameless fishing village. Everything changed in the 1970s when the first Western travelers arrived. The tsunami of 2004 swept through this shore, leaving deep wounds. But Phuket stood back up, and so did Patong. Today, it is a symbol of both the noise and the resilience of the island. When the sun sets, a different Patong wakes. Bangla Road blazes. Music, laughter, voices echo through narrow lanes. But step a few meters down onto the sand, and that world disappears. Only the sound of the waves remains. Only the silhouettes of people walking quietly along the wet shore. Patong does not try to be refined. It is alive and honest about it. Perhaps that is why people always come back. Nearly an hour south of Patong, there is a beach most travelers never find, Nui. It is a small cove, only about 200 meters long, pinned between two large granite headlands. To the north, a low rocky shoulder. To the south, a small offshore island called Karon, where seabirds nest. The sand here is not white like Patong. It is faintly gold, slightly coarse, with the occasional small shell. That very modesty is what makes Nui special. This is where locals come on weekends, not to be photographed, but to swim, to snorkel around the coral boulders, to sit on the warm sand and look out. The water is unusually calm here, sheltered by the two headlands. In the late afternoon, the sun begins to drift behind Karon. The last light strikes the granite outcrops, lighting up the gold tone of the sand. The whole cove turns warm, like a small piece of amber set into the Andaman. Nui does not try to be sheltered. It simply exists quietly, waiting for those who know how to stop. Stepping away from the shore, the journey shifts into another rhythm. Deeper, quieter. Wat Chalong, the most important Buddhist temple in Phuket, is the door into that rhythm. From afar, Wat Chalong looks like a collection of gold spires, one rising behind another, glowing under the tropical sun. The central pagoda is 3 tiers high. It is said to contain a relic of the Buddha's bone, surrounded by gilded murals depicting his life. The history of Wat Chalong is tied to the history of the island. In the late 19th century, Chinese miners revolted against the local authority. The 2 monks of Wat Chalong at the time, Luang Po Chaim and Luang Po Chuang, stepped between both sides, using their herbal medicine to heal the wounded of all parties. Those 2 monks are revered to this day, and their statues still stand in the main hall. Inside the courtyard, incense fills the air. The distant bell from a small stupa rings out. Slow, even warm. Locals light 3 sticks of incense, kneel, close their eyes. In that moment, you understand that Phuket does not live on the sea alone. It lives on faith. When you leave Wat Chalong, a particular kind of silence lingers. Not the silence of emptiness, the silence of fullness. On top of Naked Hill, 400 meters above the sea, a massive Buddha sits in stillness, gazing out over the Andaman. The statue is 45 meters tall. Its surface is clad in white marble brought from Myanmar. Over 130,000 tiles, set by hand over years. On clear days, you can see it from beaches dozens of kilometers away. Construction began in 2004, funded entirely by donations from locals and travelers. No state budget, no corporate sponsor. Each marble tile is a prayer, a name, a wish. That is why Phuket people call it not just a statue, but a symbol of unity. Standing at its feet and looking up, the sea wind passes through colored prayer flags strung along the railings. Below, the whole southern half of Phuket spreads out. Chalong Bay, the Andaman, distant beaches, small islands shimmering in heat haze, a moment of smallness and, at once, of belonging. Big Buddha does not look down at you. He looks out to the sea, as if to say, the greatest beauty always lies at the horizon, never in yourself. On the southern rim of the island lies a beach unlike the rest of Phuket. No party strip, no loud activity, only white sand, blue water, and a kind of refined stillness. That is Nui Harn. Nui Harn arcs gently, with low forested headlands closing it at both ends. Behind the beach lies a small freshwater lake, Nui Harn Lake, where in the early morning, white herons stand still in the mist. A walking path circles the lake, threading between old casuarina trees. This area once belonged to a Buddhist monastery until the 1990s when it was opened to the public. Perhaps because of that lineage, Nui Harn still carries a quiet dignity. Noise never lingers here. People come, walk, swim, lie still, and leave. In the afternoon, when the southwest wind shifts, the water of Nui Harn turns pale jade, the color of a polished stone. Small yachts anchor in the distance. The sun lowers behind Promthep Cape, and you realize how close you are to the very tip of the island. Nui does not show off. Nui is quietly beautiful, and that kind of quiet is rare on the rest of Phuket. Just minutes from Nui, a small road leads up to a low headland rashing out into the sea. This is Promthep Cape. The southernmost famous tip of Phuket, and one of the most beloved sunset points in all of Southeast Asia. Every afternoon, from around 5 o'clock, hundreds of people begin to gather. They sit on the grass, they stand on the rocks, they climb stone balconies for a better view. No one raises their voice. They all wait for one thing: the moment the sun touches the sea. The name Promthep comes from Sanskrit. Prom meaning Brahma, the creator god of Indian tradition. Thep meaning deity. Locals once believed this was sacred land, a place where gods rested when crossing the island. Today, near the tip, a small shrine still stands in honor of Brahma, sometimes draped in jasmine garlands left by visitors. As the sun lowers, the sky shifts from orange gold to pink to violet. Small offshore islands, Koh Kaio Yai and Koh Kaio Noi, become silhouettes cut against the blazing sky. The sea below turns the color of bronze. In the final seconds, Promthep seems to stop breathing. When the sun is gone, a particular sound rises. A soft, quiet applause from hundreds of people. Not applause of praise, applause of farewell for the day that has just ended. From Promthep, heading north, the road brings you to Kata, one of the most beloved beaches on Phuket by families, surfers, and those who simply wish to sit under coconut shade. Kata curves into a crescent about 1.5 kilometers long. The sand is white and fine, blending into that familiar turquoise water. To the north, a granite outcrop divides Kata into two: Kata Yai, Big Kata, and Kata Noi, Little Kata. Two beaches side by side, yet entirely different in feeling. In the dry season, from November to April, the water at Kata is glass flat, ideal for families with children. But in the rainy season, from May to October, the southwest monsoon brings waves 1.5 meters high. That is when Kata becomes a small paradise for beginners. They say many Southeast Asian surfers caught their first ever wave on this beach. At sunset, Kata wears a particular kind of light. Phu Island, a small green dot in the middle of the bay, stands as a vertical accent in the frame. The sun drops behind it. The sand shifts from white to gold. People leave the water, dry their hair, sit down, and say nothing. As if everyone understands that some moments do not need words. Kata does not try to amaze you. It simply makes you stay longer than you planned. On the eastern side of the island, far from the famous beaches, there's a small town where time has never been in a hurry. This is Phuket Old Town. Walking along Thalang Road, Krabi Road, Dibuk Road, you see long rows of low buildings painted in pastel pink, yellow, blue, and turquoise. Tall, narrow windows, red tile roofs, wrought iron balconies, stone columns. This is Sino-Portuguese shophouse architecture, a unique blend of southern Chinese merchant houses and the Portuguese style of Malacca, brought here by tin traders in the late 19th century. Phuket Old Town is not only architecture, it is a living memory. Some houses are still owned by the 5th or 6th generation of Hokkien merchant families that arrived around 1850. In the evenings, especially Sundays, Thalang Road transforms into the Old Town night market. Red lanterns hang above the street. The scent of satay, dark coffee, coconut roti fills the air. Locals play acoustic guitar at street corners. Travelers and residents blend into one crowd. In that moment, it is hard to believe that only 20 minutes away, the Andaman is washing onto white sand. Phuket Old Town reminds everyone that this island was not born of the sea. It was born of the hands that crossed the sea and chose to stay. There is a beach in Phuket that many lifelong locals have never set foot on. Not because it is hard to find, but because it is hard to reach. Freedom Beach lies between Patong and Karon, hidden behind a stretch of jungle and steep cliffs. To reach it, you have two options: a half-hour walk down a steep jungle trail, or a long-tail boat from Patong winding around the headlands. Most people choose the boat. When the boat finally rounds the northern cliff, Freedom Beach appears. Blinding white sand, water clear to a depth of 5 meters. The beach is about 300 meters long, closed at both ends by jungle cliffs. No hotels, no restaurants, only sand, water, and forest. Local stories say that Freedom Beach was once a hiding place for villagers during Burmese raids in the 18th century. The story may be only legend, but the feeling left by this place is very real. A sense of absolute freedom, exactly as the name suggests. When you lie down on the sand, close your eyes and listen. There is nothing but waves. No music, no traffic, no phone signal, just water and wind. That is something Phuket, however alive elsewhere, has somehow preserved. A corner of complete stillness. The journey ends at Karon, the third longest beach in Phuket, and one of the most unusual beaches in all of Southeast Asia. Karon stretches nearly 3 kilometers, almost a straight line, undivided by any headland. Behind the beach, a low line of dunes and a coastal road lined with jacarandas and coconut palms. In front, the Andaman, deeper, with stronger waves than Patong, and on bright days, turquoise to the point of unreal. What makes Karon truly famous is not its length, it is the sand. The sand here is strangely fine. When you walk across the dry sand, each step produces a faint sound, a chirp or a barely audible whistle. Geologists call this singing sand. It happens only when sand has a high quartz content and the right moisture. Worldwide, only a few dozen beaches share this trait. Karon is one of them. Karon is a beach full of life, with hotels and restaurants. But it has held on to something rare. The ability to silence you with a single footstep. Some islands say goodbye with a beautiful beach. Others with a remarkable meal. Phuket says goodbye with sounds. The bell of Wat Chalong, the singing sand of Karon, the quiet applause at Promthep when the sun touches the sea. Those sounds do not live in your camera. They live in your memory. Phuket is not an island that can be summarized easily. It is at once vibrant and sacred, international and deeply its own, sea and temple. It is one of the few places in Southeast Asia where you can move from a bustling night market to an ancient temple in 20 minutes and feel as if you have crossed 2 centuries. Perhaps that is what the great islands of the world preserve, the ability to hold many worlds at once. A place where temples and oceans do not exclude one another, where past and present coexist, where stillness is never truly far from life, if you know where to look. When you leave Phuket, there's a particular moment, usually as the plane lifts off and you look down. a tiny white speck on the hill. You see the curve of Karon. You see Promthep reaching out into the sea like the bow of a stone ship. And you understand that you have not only walked through this island has walked through you. If you love places like this, places that tell stories quietly, that hold many layers of time, then this journey is not over. Until the next horizon, walk with us again.